ನೋಡಿ ಈಗ
ಹಾ ಸರ್, ಇವಾಗ ಅಡ್ಮಿಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು.
ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಒಂದು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡು, ವಿತಿನ್ 5 to 10 minutes ಒಳಗೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಂತ. ಅದೇನೋ ಮಾಡಿದಾರಂತೆ ಜಾಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಗೂಗಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮ್, ಗೂಗಲ್ ಮೀಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು 10 minutes ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲಂತೆ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಚೂರು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ವಿತಿನ್ 10 minutes of starting of the class.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ, ಹೇಳಿ, ಏನ್ ತೊಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ. Next, cope and drag pattern. All of you write down cope and drag pattern. Say we discussed loose piece pattern, single piece pattern, and other type of pattern, that is a split pattern, loose piece pattern, and single pattern, and the cope and the drag pattern. Many question paper you have a question on, explain briefly with neat sketch cope and drag pattern. Please write down the title cope and drag pattern, write down the rough figure. First, what is cope and drag? Say this is the complete mold assembly ready for pouring, and the molten metal is poured into the mold cavity through the ladle. Usually, this ladle carried by 2 human beings. By holding the ladle in the clamp like this, they bring the molten metal from the furnace to the mold section. This mold is ready for pouring. The molten metal is poured into the mold cavity. Now you have little bit of idea what is cope and what is drag. The upper portion always it is called cope, and the bottom portion is always is called drag. Sometimes if you use intermediate box, then it is called cheek. All of you observe here, cope, cheek, drag. If there will be 3 boxes, suppose you have only 2 boxes, all of you observe here, this is the 2-box mold, and bottom portion always it is called drag, and the upper portion is always it is called as cope, and this is the guides, potting line, and pins. After keeping the cope on the drag, they fix both by using the pin, or sometimes bolt and nut, or sometimes the clamps are arranged along with the cope and drag. They use the clamps. Sometimes what will happen? Sometimes what will happen? They use bolt and nuts. Always they use bolt and nuts or pins. Write down the diagram. Write down the diagram. Cope, drag. If it is 2-box mold, if it is 3-box mold, this is cope, cheek, drag. And they use the split pattern. If you need the casting like this, half of the pattern usually in the cope portion, and half of the pattern in the drag portion, and they make exactly on the parting line, exactly on the parting line. And all of you observe here, hope and drag pattern, and this two box mold is ready for pouring, and they bring the molten metal in the ladle to the molding section by two human beings. Say this is the clamp used for lifting the ladle, and they bring the molten metal to the mold section and pour the liquid metal into the mold cavity. See, if time permits, we will go to the neighbor industry, Perfect Allies and Private Limited, and also Shantala Tractor and Iron Foundry. If situation improves, we will go to foundries, and we have the in-hand observation, and also you can conduct, and also you can pour the molten metal into the mold cavity by using ladle. I can arrange the visit to Antala Ductile and Gray Iron Foundry, and also our neighboring industry, Perfect Allies and Perfect Perfect Allies Components Private Limited. Both the companies, they produce liquid low carbon steel, medium carbon steel, alloy steel, cast iron, aluminum, and other metals like nickel and chrome. And they make cylinder liners, valve seat, and other components. If you observe that, you understand that what is the foundry and what all the components are produced in the foundry. Write down the title, hope and track pattern. Next, come to the point, gated pattern. Gated pattern. See, what is the meaning of gate? Gate is the channel. Remember, gate is the channel where the liquid metal flows and fills the mold cavity. Fills the mold cavity. And this is the runner, and this is the pouring basin. This is the bottom screw, and if you pour the molten metal in the pouring basin, which flows in both the directions and fills the mold cavity. Mold cavities are produced from using pattern. Next, match plate pattern. Say, match plate pattern means the same type of plate, bottom and the top, the same type of pattern used for match plate. See, this is the match plate. The name itself indicates match. Match the plate. That is the same type of shape produced in upper portion, in the bottom portion. That is called match plate. They keep the match plate below the upper pattern and complete the mold cavity. Again, turn the mold box and keep the match plate. They fix the pattern and they make the mold cavity. That is called match plate pattern. From that, they produce the mold cavity. The name itself indicates matching of the pattern in the upper and the lower portion. Next, come to the point of follow board. Follow board, that is nothing but this is the common type of board used for making of the hole, and this is the sand, and this is the pattern which is placed on the follow board and which supports the pattern. You can make the mold cavity on the pattern by supporting the follow board. Follow board. This is the follow board usually made from plywood or the soft wood. Next, the skeleton pattern. Skeleton pattern. The name itself indicates. See, all of you observe here. Looks like a skeleton. Don't think that human being skeleton. This is a skeleton. It's the part. The part of the pattern used for making of the casting, and this is the sickle board. It is moved forward and backward direction so that you have the uniform cylinder, half of the cylinder portion in the mold cavity. In the mold cavity, usually loam sand used for making of the mold cavity, and the skeleton pattern and the trickle board is used to produce the uniform cylinder shape in the mold cavity. The loam sand is used for making of the cylinder shape, half of cylinder shape. Next, come to the point, the sweep pattern. All of you play the cricket, you know that sweep shot. What is that sweep shot? That is nothing but the sweep, that is the wooden board which is fixed to the rod, which is called as spindle, and this is the sweep board made from wood and which is rotated in the clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, so that you have the cavity like this. Cavity like this. The sweep, the name itself indicates the sweep, that is nothing but the sweep board which is rotated in the clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, which leaves the shape like this in the sand, leaves in the sand in the cope portion or in the track portion. And sometimes if you go to any industry, there will be a standard specification for pattern. Standard specification for pattern. This is, all of you write down the title, BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard. All of you write down BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard. Close the bracket. Color coding of pattern. Color coding of pattern. Color coding of pattern. Underline that. Put a colon hyphen. Say, next to write down the table. Few question paper, you have this question. Explain the BIS color coding of pattern. Next, write down the table. First column, write down serial number. Second column, color. And third column, casting position. Casting position. Go through the one by one. Suppose if you observe the black color in the pattern, which indicates casting surface to be left unfinished. As I told you, the casting surface not requires a machining process. That is left as it is. Next, if there some portions are painted with red color, that indicates that portion to be machined. That portion to be machined. That is the surface to be machined. Next, red stripes on yellow background. That is, there will be provision to keep some loose pieces of pattern and valve seat for keeping of. If you need a hole in the casting, you have to place the core print, that is called as seat. See, the red stripes on the yellow background indicates where you have to keep some loose pieces and cores. Yellow, that indicates the core prints and seats for core prints. If you observe yellow color on the pattern, that indicates that in that place you have to place the cores and loose prints. Next, diagonal black stripes on a yellow base. See, all of you know that hatching, the same type of black color lines on the pattern, which indicates the cavity where the cavities are required, where the molten metal to be filled. They are reinforcement. Say that all made from soft material, that portions are very, very delicate. So for that reason, if you observe the, just like hatching with the block color, that portion requires reinforcement because the velocity of the liquid metal and the density of the liquid metal and weight of the liquid
Hello.
metal and load of the
Excuse me,
liquid
sir.
metal which exerts the pressure on that portion, then you require reinforcement. Usually they keep the wire, all of you see the electric wire used for servicemen, the same type of wires are used for reinforcement. See, please all of you write down the title, BS color coding of pattern, write down the table, serial number, color and casting position. Next, come to the point. This is a very, very important. Binder. What is the binder? See, binder is the chemical zircon, olivine, magnesite, etc. are widely used as the binder and additive. See, all of you observe here, molding sand equal to silica sand. See, that's the riverbed sand which is available. That's called silica sand. Apply and add zircon, olivine, and magnesite. So these three types of binders are supplied by Foseco company, the only company in India throughout the world, the only company which supplies the binder. There is no competitor for that company. They supply the binder which is made from zircon, olivine, magnesite, plus additives. As I told you, additives, uh, formalic acid, formaldehyde solution, calcium carbonate, and some types of additives are also added to the molding sand to make the sand uniform thickness throughout the mold box and makes the very good mold cavity. Next, come to the point. The types of binders used in molding sand. That is organic binders. Say organic binder means that's available. Say organic pesticide or organic you have heard. So the same type of binders are made from organic material. Inorganic binders are dextrin made from starch, molasses made from the just like molasses, which is a byproduct while converting the sugar juice into the sugarcane juice into the sugar, they produce the molasses. Cereal binders. Say there is also available in the market. Linseed oil. This is the oil which is available in the market. Resins on urea, formaldehyde resin, phenol formaldehyde, and inorganic group of binders. See, usually the less cost and easily available the binders are clay binders, bentonite, fire clay, and also Portland cement. See, as we are using the cement for construction purpose, the same type of cement is available, and sodium silicate. Next, come to the point, additives. The additives are very, very important for the molding process. See, this molding process, if you add additives, which makes the uniform strength throughout the mold, and also you have very good mold cavity. Usually, the additives are 2 to 8% of the weight of the sand used in the mold box. Usually, additives are made from the sea core, silica floor, wood floor, and iron oxide. Iron oxide. So, if you add the additives to the molding sand, which increases the strength and produces uniform density throughout the mold box, and which are very, very important. The some of the properties are very, very important. That is compressive strength and permeability and other properties are very, very important. If you add additives, which makes a very good mold cavity. Now, I stop at this stage. All of you, please write down your name and USN in the chat box. All of you unmute yourself. All of you unmute yourselves and answer our call. All of you unmute yourselves. Answer our call. Mithun Naik. Answer our call. Mithun Naik. Karthik.
Yes, sir.
Anush.
Sir, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು
L. ನಿನ್ನ ಹೆಸರೇನಮ್ಮ?
ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ AM.
ಕರಿತೀನಿ. ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ MK ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ. ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ M ಇದೆ. ಓಕೆ. ವಿಠಲ್ ನಾಯಕ್.
ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಸರ್.
ಮಿಥುನ್ ನಾಯಕ್. ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ MK. ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ AM. ಅನುಷ್.
Yes, sir.
ಜಯಂತ್. ಅಕ್ಷಯ್ M ಪಾಟೀಲ್. ಹರ್ಷ MR.
Present, sir.
ಹರ್ಷವರ್ಧನ್.
Present, sir.
ಪ್ರಥಮೇಶ್.
Yes, sir.
ಹೇಮಂತ್ KS.
Yes, sir.
ಮಧುಸೂದನ್.
Present, sir.
ಮನೋಜ್ YB.
Yes, sir.
ಜ್ಞಾನೇಶ್.
Yes, sir.
ಅಕ್ಷಯ್ M ಪಾಟೀಲ್. ಸುಶಾಂತ್. ನಿಶ್ಚಿತ್ ಗೌಡ.
No, sir.
ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್.
Present, sir.
ಪವನ್ HR.
Present, sir.
ಕುಮಾರಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಪ್ರತೀಕ್ S.
Yes, sir.
ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ರಾಜಾ. ಹೇಮಂತ್ ನುಚಿನ್.
Present, sir.
ಕೃತಿಕ್.
Yes, sir.
ಅಭಿರಾಮ್.
Present, sir.
ಶಶಾಂಕ್.
Yes, sir.
ಧನಂಜಯ್. ಧನಂಜಯ್. ಆದಿಲ್.
Present, sir.
ನಜ್ಮಾ ಖಾನಂ. ಶರತ್.
सर नजमा सर.
Present, sir.
ಜೀಶನ್.
सर नजमा खानम.
ನಜ್ಮಾ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ. ಜೀಶನ್.
Yes, sir.
ದಾವೂದ್.
Yes, sir.
ಜ್ಞಾನೇಶ್.
Yes, sir.
ಮೋಹನ್ ರಾಜ್.
Yes, sir.
ಪವನ್ HR.
Present, sir.
ಧನುಷ್.
Yes, sir.
ಮಲ್ಹಾರ್ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ್.
Present, sir.
ಭಗತ್. ಪ್ರತೀಕ್ S.
Yes, sir.
ದಾನಿಶ್ ಭಟ್.
Present, sir.
ಕುಮಾರಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಆದಿತ್ಯ.
Yes, sir.
ಪ್ರಥಮೇಶ್. ನೂತನ್.
Present, sir.
ಮನೋಜ್ ಹನುಮಂತಪ್ಪ.
Sir.
ಚೇತನ್.
Sir.
ಶಾಹಿದ್. ಗಣೇಶ್ ನಾಯಕ್.
Yes, sir.
ಲೋಹಿತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್. ಶಾಹಿದ್. ನಯಾಜ್ ಶರೀಫ್.
Yes, sir.
ಮೋಹನ್ ರಾಜ್.
Present,
Anybody else? Please tell me your name. Pronounce your name. Anybody else?
Sir, Bhagat.
Okay.
Sir,
Next.
Chandana
Sir.
C.
Huh?
Chandana.
Okay.
Sushant
Chandan
MN.
Arsi, okay. Next.
Sushant MN.
Okay. Next. I told all of you to place your photograph, your face photograph in the DP. Still, many of you placed your dog, cat, and scenery in the DP. Remove that DP and please show your face or passport size photograph in the DP. Otherwise, it is difficult to recognize you. So next class, I expect all of you to change the DP and put your face or photograph of your face in the DP. Now I stop at this stage. I will continue in the next class.